Time now to take a look at what's grabbing headlines here in France. Solange Moujon is with us in studio. Solange, you've been perusing the French papers, and I believe you're going to start your review with a lengthy interview from the French Prime Minister.
Yes, indeed. J'assume. That is the catchy title that the left-leaning paper Libération has chosen this morning for their 4-page spread of an exclusive interview with Edouard Philippe, the Prime Minister. It means, j'assume means I assume, or I take ownership of the government's decision to change a controversial tax that's levied in France on rich people, the ISF. Now, the ISF, or l'impôt sur la fortune, is a rich person tax that's levied on people with a wealth, now global wealth, of equal or greater than 1.3 million euros. Now, the Macron-Philippe government have decided to change it so the wealthy individuals are no longer taxed on their global wealth, for example, on their stock portfolios or their art collections, but purely on their real estate holdings. So getting back to j'assume, Philippe says in his interview essentially that he understands that the move will be construed as a measure that will help wealthy people, that it will further add to the already sort of growing perception that the government is working for the rich.
And he goes on to defend why he isn't shying away from such a reform.
Yeah, in the exclusive interview, he says in a sort of jesting way that Libération in a jesting way says to the president, we can see your right leg is quite strong, but your left leg is rather weak. And Philippe says he sees himself as a centrist. And so he says, oh, you're only looking at my profile. Now, I include this anecdote because it shows the kind of spin that Philippe himself is trying to carry off. He says he accepts that getting rid of the wealthy tax will be seen as pro-rich, but he says he's doing it for the poor. He says he's doing it for the poor, or rather to bring more wealth back to France, which would help the overall economy. Philippe says the government is ditching the tax because it's not doing what it's supposed to do, redistribute wealth. He says rather it chases wealthy people from France, and it gets and getting rid of the tax break is a courageous move that will bring some, quote, 10,000 taxpayers back to France who have fled because they don't want to pay the ISF.
Left-leaning Libération, I imagine, and its editorial doesn't exactly see eye to eye with this view.
Not at all. Libération refers to the ISF as a tax that brings bad luck, especially for presidents who try and get rid of it. It goes on to explain that in 1987, Jacques Chirac scrapped it, but it was a move that was highly unpopular, and it was one of the main reasons that Socialist President François Mitterrand was re-elected. Now, Libération also says the move may or may not bring back the uber wealthy, but that it will certainly be a move that will bring, that it's going to stick to Macron and as sort of like a band-aid over a festering wound.
However, in the more immediate future, there is already some good economic news for President Emmanuel Macron.
Indeed. Les Echos this morning ran with the headline, "The winners of the Macron policy are the poor." Working nicely with the argument that the Prime Minister put forth in Libération, Les Echos says that Macron's budgetary reforms are going to help the poor most, namely the 10% that are on the bottom of the economic ladder. The study in Les Echos says that the poor will gain an almost 3% boost in their purchasing power.
Okay, now there's another paper focusing on a particular visit by the French president to a factory that he visited during his campaigning for president. It was quite a touchy topic at the time. Yeah,
Le Figaro, the right-leaning paper this morning, has an article about Emmanuel Macron's trip yesterday to Amiens in northern France to a Whirlpool factory. Now, this is Macron's second time to this factory. 5 months ago, he went there as a candidate, and it didn't go so well. He was booed. There were a number of supporters of Marine Le Pen's, and it was a bit of a fiasco with burning tires and workers protesting impending layoffs. Well, this time, Le Figaro says the atmosphere of the visit was totally different, that the Whirlpool jobs have been saved, and the article says that it was a chance for the president to walk around as a politician who sort of helps workers and is not there just for the rich, but is also there for factory workers.
Another paper, L'Humanité, also looks at that trip to Amiens.
Yeah, in an editorial called Pipe Mode d'Emploi. Now, this loosely translates as how to BS. The left-leaning paper says that Macron went to Amiens purely to change his image, and that it's just optics, that Macron is actually going forward with a business-friendly, right-leaning reform that is kind of similar to Nicolas Sarkozy's reforms, the very politics that helped, that made Sarkozy lose exactly. But L'Humanité says that Macron's art of the bull is from a communication standpoint, much more successful than Sarkozy's.
Okay, I guess we'll have to keep a close eye on it. Let's turn away, lastly, briefly from French politics and look at the Nobel Prizes.
Yeah, yesterday the Nobel Prizes in physics were awarded. Now, it didn't come as a surprise. They were given to 3 American physicists who published last year their findings on Einstein's waves, these gravitational waves. And it was a huge discovery for science because it confirmed that gravitational waves do exist. Now, if, like me, you don't understand what the waves are,
read my mind, Solange.
and how they stretch and squeeze space-time and the space-time continuum, then you should check out an article in L'Express. It offers a one-on-one explainer on Albert Einstein's prediction and how these scientists managed over a decade of research to finally prove that his theory, that Einstein's theory is indeed a reality.
Okay, well, that is definitely one I'm going to have to sit down and read. Solange Rijon, thanks indeed for that wrap-up of the French papers.